What's going on, everybody? It's your boy Pitts from Pitts and Put Sports Talk Radio, Pitt Sports Zone, coming to you live once again through the Eye of the Tiger with the head coach of Robert Morris University, Bernard Clark Jr. How you doing today, Coach?
Doing well, Pitch. How you doing today?
I'm blessed, man. I'm blessed. I can't complain.
Good to hear.
So,
Good to hear.
let's take this, quarter by quarter. I want to, let's. I think we will be remiss in not stating the obvious of one thing that we did not state last week. We did not state last week that in preparation of your game this week, that you guys were a 30-point underdog.
Mm.
So, with that caveat, we can transition to the game and how everything played out. So, for those who don't know, Robert Morris was victorious. The Colonials did take care of business,
Yes.
and we can walk through the highs and the lows, but also what that moment felt like. But if we can just start with when we spoke last week, you was getting ready for your breakfast. How was the mood of your team prior to game day?
Actually, the move was very good. It was like normally it's kind of loud at breakfast, and it was kind of more mellow, more laid back. And I would be remiss if I didn't. My pregame speech wasn't what it normally was. I felt like what I needed to do in talking to those guys, get them ready, was to let them know how I felt about them as people. And basically, what I told them was, and I went around the room, and not only myself, but also the other coaches, how much we believed in them. Every guy that walked on this campus and walked into that locker room and became a Robert Morris football team, we believe that you're going to get the job done. We believe that you can do it. And if you're on this trip, that means that if you get in the game, we believe that you can play the way you're capable of playing to help us be victorious. And so that was probably the most important thing when I talked to those guys about how much I believed in them and how much faith myself, as along with the coaching staff, that everybody else trusts them. And they had to learn to believe in each other and understanding it's important that the man next to you is going to do his job. And I think that's what they did a real good job of in that game.
And we talked about those players that were not able or that were still ailing, that were hurting. How did we fare in regards to injury?
That's crazy you say that, because we had some guys that we got back. But the crazy part is throughout the game, we lost some guys that we got our left tackle back. He ended up getting hurt again. He hurt his other ankle. So, and we got the right guard that's been with us all year long, Dante Thompson. He got rolled up on. So we had to put a redshirt freshman in for him to play the game. Later on in the fourth quarter, Chickett goes down, our quarterback. He has a concussion. Early on, one of our starting wide receiver goes down from a concussion, Connor Becker. So we lost some guys. But again, it goes back to that's the reason I was talking about what I talked about. It didn't matter who went on that field. We believe they can get the job done. I think those young men that echo with them pretty sternly, understanding that I still got to get my job done. Doesn't matter who's on this field. And that's what they did a great job at, is understanding next man is definitely up. Next man has to get out there and get it done. So those guys went out there and fought. They continued to fight. And, and our boy Noah, when they weren't doubling him, other guys were open. We're getting the ball to him. But when they left him open, the quarterbacks were getting him the ball. So I think he had like 168 yards. So he came alive again.
And talk about the mindset of your team knowing that they were 30-point underdogs.
I don't know if they knew, because I didn't know until I got on the bus after the game and somebody said, "Coach, do you realize we're 30-point underdogs?" I was like, wow, they didn't expect us to show up to the game. So 30-point underdogs, I don't think they knew. I just think our guys went out there with the right mindset. And again, I would be remiss if I didn't mention that our running backs played outstanding. I mean, we had one running back with, I think, 70 yards. Another one had 30-something yards. We had over 160 yards rushing the ball. So we did a good job running the ball. So even though we lost some of our old linemen, those guys were out there, understood the assignment, and they got it done. So I don't think they knew they were 30-point underdogs. I think more than anything else, they were just out there playing for each other, and playing for the coaches, and trying to be their best. And that's what they did. They did a great job of that.
Well, I think that speaks volumes, knowing that they did not know, but they still played with that will and desire and fire to win. And when it goes into, when you heard that, what were your thoughts? What were your reactions to knowing or hearing that you were actually, such a large deficit under?
It was kind of shocking, to be honest with you. I mean, I knew they'd pick us to lose the game. I mean, because again, what our record is and how we played last year. So I knew they would. But when I heard 30 points, to me that just sounds like a team's just not going to show up. It just seems like a team just going to lay down when they get an opportunity to lay down. And I don't think our guys have done that all year long. I mean, they haven't laid down when we played anybody all year long. So for someone else, a critic, to think that, it's just kind of crazy. Now, again, like I said, I get the fact that they thought we would lose the game, and we're playing against the number one team in the conference. They're undefeated in the conference. They've been undefeated in the conference since 2022. So it's a situation they hadn't lost a game in the conference since last year and this year. So it's a situation that, okay, well, I understand that, but to be 30 points to me just tells you a team's not going to go out there and fight. A team's not going to go out there and try to win. A team's not going to go out there and do their best. And I think that's the only thing I thought about was, wow, they really thought we weren't going to show up. And again, we played against a great football team. SEMO is a great football team. They've won the conference. They've like I said, they've been undefeated in the conference. This team's a great football team. So they've done a lot of good things, but it's a situation where we're going to show up. Now, each week we're going to show up. We're going to have our guys prepared. The coach is going to have our guys prepared to play football. And again, I'm not saying there's nothing that SEMO did. I'm talking about the critics, that say that
Absolutely.
we weren't going to show up.
Absolutely. When you play the team that is leading in the conference and you display a game in which it shows the true identity of what Robert Morris is, and we talked about this in the past, is just about being more consistent within the identity. It's not shocking to you, but maybe shocking to others. Can you just talk about how that consistency played out this past weekend?
Well, the thing that I was most impressed with our guys' pitch was the poise they had throughout the game. I mean, the first drive, we drive the ball down. We have a great drive. We drive down, we put it up, we get ready for a field goal. Field goal gets blocked. So I'm thinking, in the past, the defense looks a little down. No, the defense sprinted right on the field and got a pick. So they get a pick. And then the offense, their mindset is, we got to score. So I told the coach, I said, you got 4 downs. We're not kicking another field goal. You got 4 downs. So on 4th and 2, we scored a touchdown. So our guys' mindset was just different in this game than it has been in the past. And the one time that I think it really got to me, I was worried, was they kicked an onside kick. They did a great job. Simon did a great job. Our guys in the middle got out of there too fast. The kicker dribbled it right down the middle 10 yards and jumped on it, and they got on it. I was like, okay, let's see how our guys respond because, defense had just gotten off the field, so on and so forth. Defense goes right there, 3 and out. So their mindset was just different. Their poise was just different. They were ready for every aspect of that game whenever it happened. And it's a situation where we won the game 21-20, and we didn't score until late in the 4th quarter in order to go ahead in that situation. late in the 3rd quarter to go ahead in that situation. So our guys understood the assignment, and our guys played their butts off.
The call that you made when you told the coach that you got 4 downs, would that, if this was early in the season, would that still have been the same call you would have made?
I can't say that it would, to be totally honest with you. It's a situation where it's kind of like, hey, we got to win this game. We got to put ourselves in the best position to win this game. And that's why I gave him 4 downs. And I gave him that at the beginning. So when he was going out there, he knew he had 4 downs. So it wasn't a situation where he was going out there thinking, how many downs am I going to have in order to get this in? Am I trying to hold for a field goal? No, we weren't trying to hold for a field goal. We're trying to score a touchdown. And especially when you're playing with the number 1 team in the conference. When you're playing the number 1 team in the conference, you got an opportunity to put a touchdown up on them. You got to have it. And it happened again this week where we fumbled the ball, they scoop it up, and they score a touchdown on defense. Got upset. Offense went right back out there, drove the ball down, did what we need to do. So the poise was there the entire game. So that's what I loved about our guys in this past week.
We talked about 3 keys to the game, right? We talked about starting fast, that's in tempo. We talked about minimizing penalties, and we talked about minimizing missed tackles. How did we fare out in those 3 areas?
All 3 of those things worked out well. As I can say it, like I said, when we first got the ball, because they kicked off us, we drove it right down. The very first play that we ran was a boot, but it wasn't there. So Chicken made a great decision to tuck it, and he ran for about 35 yards. So we started fast. We get it down to, I think, at the 25, and that's when we try to field goal, and they end up blocking the field goal. So the mindset was we started fast. We drove the ball down. We ate up some clock. And then after that, they block it. So the next play, like I said, they go on offense. We get a pick. So, again, we're starting fast offensively and defensively and getting things where we need to be at. So, and we minimize penalties and missed tackles. I think we had 9 missed tackles as a defense, maybe 10. But it's a situation where we've been missing 20, 15, 30. I mean, crazy missed tackles. Our guys understand to get to the ball. And they had a great running back. I mean, SEMO has a great run. He still had 160 yards. The guy was still a great running back. It's just that we minimized his long runs. He didn't
Right.
have runs or 30-yard runs. His runs were 5 yards here, 7 yards here, 10 yards here, 3 yards here. We did a great job of doing that, and we kept that quarterback in the pocket. He wasn't able to get out of the pocket as much. When he did scramble, it was only for about 7 or 8 yards. Yards. So we did a great job there in missed tackles and starting fast. And we didn't have a whole lot of penalties. That was the other great thing about it. No holding penalties. I think we had one drive, and it upset me. I had to me and the O line coach went at it a little bit because his guys moved twice. So next thing you know, it's 2nd and 20. But again, poise kicked in, boom, boom. 2 plays later, first down. So Chicken was poised, O line was poised, nobody got rattled, and that was the great thing about that game.
Talking about three phases of the game: offense, defense, and special teams. That's we talked a little bit about the offense. We talked a little bit about the defense. We'll come back to those two. Let's
Mm-hmm.
talk a little bit about special teams. Punt coverage, punt return, kickoff, kick return, and of course, field goals. How do
Yeah,
we fare special team wise?
they fared well. We made mistakes. Like I said, we got a field goal block, but we didn't get an extra point block. Later on we made the assignment. Guys stood stout in there like they're supposed to. They basically rushed down the middle, did a good job rushing down the middle, ended up getting the hand up, and we didn't stand strong. But later on in the game, we stood strong inside. It wasn't an issue. After the onside kick, our guys understood they couldn't get out of there fast. Kickoffs were great. When we covered the ball well on kickoffs, I think they averaged maybe 10 yards a kickoff return. And we just got to kick it deeper. That's the only thing I talked to the special teams coach about. I want to get the ball a little bit deeper, try to get it more in the end zone and more to the sideline as opposed to like the 11-yard line, the 5-yard line. We had
Right.
one, but the great thing about our punter, like I told you, he's a captain. His name is George Sodders, and George is a great young man. So I snapped on him, but it doesn't bother George. It doesn't phase him. And the great thing about George, he went out there for the next one. He boomed the next one when we really, really needed it. They started at the 21-yard line with a minute left. And so, like you said, with field position, now he kicked it back to the 21-yard line from our 21 to theirs. Now we're in great position again. So now they have to drive the entire field in order to kick the field goal to win. And our defense did a great job stopping. So the special teams did exactly what we needed them to do, putting us in field position. And when they did make mistakes, we overcame those mistakes, so it wasn't an issue.
On the defensive side of the ball, because we talked before and we talk about the importance of all three phases and how all three phases has a role in the situational football is what we call it, but field positioning.
Mm-hmm.
Offense, time of possession, being able to convert on third downs, extending drives, punt team getting very good, solid punts, punt defense getting down there, making sound tackles, punt return, giving us some room to work with. Defense making stops, turnovers, keeping them on their side of the 50. When it comes to the defense, and I know there were some injury issues on defense as well. I believe you got both safeties back this week, right? Or
Yeah,
one?
yeah, we got both of them back. The great thing about it though, the adjustment we made last week when the safety wasn't in there and we brought an extra corner in there, we
Mm-hmm.
went with 10. Most of the game we went with that, except when they went to 12 personnel when they had one back and two tight
Right.
ends. Go to our baseline because the corners did a great job of covering guys. So we did some zone stuff with them, but we also did some man stuff with them. So we went back to that a little bit. We played some. We put both safeties in, so we had Shakespeare back, we had the Avion back, we had William Barber back. So we had those guys back in order, ready to go. But we did some of the stuff we did last week that really helped us because we feel like we got some corners that can cover man to man. So we did a little bit of that, which helps us keep the backers in the box now. When we do that man stuff, it helps us keep backers in the box.
Right.
And then now you have better chances of making those tackles. I'd much rather see a linebacker making a tackle, and I love safeties and corners than a safety in a corner making a tackle. I just rather see linebackers. To me, linebackers should be the guys that are making tackles, the guys who are making plays on pass, or the DBs. I guess that's because I'm an old school guy, and that's just how I look at it.
Absolutely. When we talk about, that running back being as, dominant as he can be, and you talk about, some people may say, oh, wow, 160 yards is still, it's still a lot of yardage. However, it's different when you're able to, he's going to get his yards, but when you're able to minimize the other pieces,
Absolutely.
keep him out the end zone, but minimize the other pieces from adding to the damage that he may or may not do.
Right.
So if you talk a little bit about your D line and the ability to keep that front up strong and the pressure that they're able to put into the backfield where they may not make the tackle. It's something we talked about before. It's not about making a tackle. because even when you're a part of the play by pushing the line back, you're still helping with the assist of the tackle because now you're reverting him back to a direction the play wasn't designed to go, which then brings the speed to the ball from the backfield where your cornerbacks and your safeties. And a lot of times that's most of the situations when cornerbacks and safeties are making good tackles is because the D line is doing a great job of upholding those blocks up front and keeping those lines closed to where now the defense can run downhill. It's different when you're tackling uphill, but when you're able to run downhill as a unit, solid tackling normally occurs.
And you're absolutely right in everything you just assessed there. There's no doubt. And the important thing is we understood how great their running back was, but we also understood that they had moved the quarterback on several occasions. They played this quarterback, they played that quarterback, so they've had different quarterbacks in there. And the guy that was in there, he came in after the starter got hurt the past week, so it was a situation where we wanted to try to put the game in his too. Now that he wasn't a good player, he was a good player. He was an absolutely good player. But at the same time, we knew the strength of the team was their running back and was their running game. So make sure we may try to make them as one dimensional as possible. So we can put them in a situation where it's 2nd and 9, where it's 3rd and 7, third. Now we know that we're either going to get a draw, some type of screen, or the quarterback's going to try to find somebody open. So those things became prevalent during the game also, that we want to make sure we try to get it in the quarterback's hands as opposed to giving them the opportunity to keep giving it to the running back to where he's just pounding us and pounding us and pounding us and putting us in a better position.
Let's talk about the offense. You know, the tempo, as you stated earlier with Chickett, you did say he did go down. You could talk a little bit about um, how your offense responded in the losses of the injuries that occurred throughout the game, but still being able to maintain those drives, being able to maintain the tempo, being able to maintain that push to get the job done.
Yeah, I think they were fine. And that, like I said, it goes back to those guys understanding how much we as coaches believe in the next man up. And so when the first offensive tackle went down, then we put the other guy back in there who was also coming off an injury. We put him in the game. And then the next thing you know, our starting guard goes down. We put the redshirt freshman there. He does an unbelievable job getting in there. So those guys went in there and they understood that. But our coaches also understood, okay, now we understand who we got in front of us. Chicken, you got to get rid of the ball quick. Wide receiver, you got to beat your coverage now to make things happen. So we're getting rid of the ball quick. We're doing some things that help us move the ball methodically down the field like we needed to, starting fast, like I said, not so much at tempo, but making sure we get those chains moving on a regular basis. So it was a situation where we hit some drag routes, we hit some hitches, and then we hit Noah for a big. The first touchdown was Noah for I think I want to say a 38-yard or a 40-yard touchdown where Chickett just laid it right into his hands and he caught it and he took it to the house. It was a double move. He beat him on a double move. He went inside, boom, hit upside, and next thing you know, it was 6 points. So it's a situation where those guys were still poised, and guys were getting hurt throughout this period, but we were still moving the ball. When Chicken got the concussion, it was a situation where we went right out there. The next quarterback went out there, told Chicken, "Hey, take a knee, stay down." So we get the quarterback, get his arm over a little bit. Next thing you know, we're moving the ball right down the field. We move it down to the 1 yard line. We thought we scored on 3rd down. The referee said he blew the whistle. Even though the guy was in the end zone, we thought we scored. So they stopped us on 4th down. And so we didn't get in the end zone that time. But the great thing about it, the ball was on the 1 yard line. And it was 6 minutes and 42 seconds left. So now they got to drive it 99 yards in order to win the game. So defense goes out there and stops, and offense goes out there, eats up the clock a little bit more. So they were doing the things we needed them to do on both sides of the ball. But offensively, when we needed the points, we were getting the points. We needed the plays made, we were getting the plays made. Noah was making plays, Chicken was making plays. One of the touchdowns was by one of our tight ends, Chase Jackson, and our O-line was solid the entire game. It's a situation where I think we gave up 2 sacks, and both of them were probably on the quarterback more than on the O-line, just not getting rid of the ball and, understanding, hey, let's get rid of it and things like that. I'm open. So we got to make sure we're understanding the decisions got to be made a little bit better by the quarterbacks, but they had great decision making this week. But when the guys came in, everybody played together.
It's funny you say decision making. A decision was our wow. We talk about the decisions that we make as a team, as a unit, and the decision to go out there and fight regardless of what our record says, the decision to go out there and compete despite what the critics write about us.
Mm-hmm.
Um, One, the wow was intentional,
Mm-hmm.
but more importantly, hats off to your group for the fortitude of their fight, regardless of what everything looked like, and a way to end the road games for the season. A
Yeah.
strong way to finish on the road. You could just talk a little bit about that. With that being the last road game for you guys.
That was the positive thing about it, man. That was the last road game for us. You're talking about a 10-hour bus ride. So that 10-hour bus ride on the way home was a whole lot better than the ones that have been in the past. And the crazy thing is we hadn't run a road game since 10-19-19. Our first road victory since 10-19-19. And our guys understood that going in, and it was something they really wanted to do and overcome. And they did a great job of, like I said, their poise was just unbelievable. Their poise was just stated to where it needs to be at, and they were just calm the entire game and playing hard the entire game. And so that's what helped us be victorious.
What are our keys for this week? What are we looking? What do we need to do to keep that energy going, to keep that drive, that mindset going?
Well, the thing I always tell guys, even in a loss, the great thing about this, man, that's why they call it a season. You got the next one up. So once the season gets rolling, so the team we're facing this week in Charleston Southern, they're a team that, they're not as talented as SEMO, but they're a great football team because the coach that they have, he
Right.
understands, Coach Gabe understands what these guys can do well and what they don't do well. And they play within their strengths. They have a very strong defensive line that plays extremely hard. They got a huge offensive line. Again, we're dealing with, and like I said, the rush has been our Achilles heel a little bit when it comes to keeping guys under 100 yards, but they got a great running back. And they've changed quarterbacks here and there, but he's also put it in the quarterback's hands in a position where he's not going to make them lose. They hang on
Yeah.
to, have a lot of turnovers. They're a solid traditional football team that plays extremely hard. And their special teams, they solid on special teams. Like you said, they do a great job of changing field position on special teams. So this team is solid. They got 4 victories. They were in the conference in the Big South with us before we joined the Big South / OVC. So we know a little bit about them. We played them the last 2 years, and this is a team that gets after it. They play hard.
The injuries, were they injuries where players can come back from, or were they injuries where they're shut down for the season?
We're not sure yet. Obviously, Chickett, his is a concussion, so we'll figure out what's going on with that. And as far as him being able to go this week and not being able to go this week, it depends on protocol, as we go through that. Same thing with Connor when it comes to concussion. The offensive linemen, it's weird because it's ankle injuries. So sometimes they're able to go if they tape them tight enough and stuff like that because they're not making the cuts like a wide receiver or a
Right.
deep, or about can they kick back? Can they put the pressure on leg, kick back, or can they push off of that to drive that guy off the ball when we're trying to run the play, when we're trying to run the ball? So that's where it comes in at. So we'll work this week on the offensive line when it comes to ankles. But as far as Chickett and Connor, we're not sure if we're going to get them back for this week just because of concussion protocol and things like that. But other than that, you know how it is, man. It's next man up.
Absolutely. Coach, great win this past weekend, man. Look forward to the rest of this week. Look forward to the preparation of practice going forward. Look forward to Thursday. Hell of a job taking care of business in Missouri. Hats off to the Colonials and their will to keep fighting despite what everyone says, the critics write, despite what the record looks like. Hats off to the Colonials for getting the job done and closing out the road game on a strong note.
Appreciate it, my man. Let's go, Bobby Mo.
It's your boy Pitts on Pitts and Push Sports Talk Radio, Pitt Sports Zone, coming to you live, Bowie TV, every Tuesday, Thursday, and Saturday. It's going down. Me and Tiger. Have a blessed day.